All right, we're about half an hour in, and of course, as I start recording, somebody's fired up a chainsaw. But I was watching a YouTube video the other day, and the guy was saying, you know, for better branding and better subscriber count and all that stuff, you need to have your face on the videos, which I'm not really that big into. You could tell I hardly ever film me personally in my face, because I've got a face for radio, and also I think all this stuff is really about biking. I'm trying to get more people to do triathlon and cycling and ultra running and getting into swimming for lifelong fitness. It's not really about me. It's ironic because I'm the one that's doing it, but that's why I just never really point the camera at me. But we're gonna start doing that so that everybody can see who I am, and then whenever you watch a video, I don't want to be, but I might be in the thumbnails and stuff like that. Should have started doing it when I was younger with less gray. But anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and turn this camera around. We're gonna get started up that road, and I'll be right back. Hold on. All right, going for a little ride. It's gonna be a little muddy at first. A little single track. Some creatures on the right here. It's actually a little slippery. It's been raining for days, and we finally have, I'm gonna unclip through some of this stuff. We finally have a nice day, no rain, hopefully, and overcast, and it's been cooler temps for quite a while, and we're out for a 4-hour training ride. Gonna get out of this hiking trail here in a second. Got the suspension stem working there, and a 47 front tire, 47 mil, probably running about 30 psi. Yeah, look how everything's just growing. And today we're going to talk a little bit about using time as a tool instead of something to fight against. There are times, pun intended, where doing things as fast as possible is not ideal, and waiting a little bit to see how things develop is actually much more wise. But it takes patience, and it takes restraint. Very, very difficult to do at first, but then once you get it, and actually the science behind it, which is interesting, then we have some really interesting outcomes. It gets a little bit addictive even to watch the choices you would have made if you'd acted immediately versus waiting just a little bit. The improved wind muffs, which these are not, supposed to show up sometime tomorrow. So we're gonna have a little bit of wind noise on this one too, unfortunately. I could delay the ride to tomorrow, but we have rain in the forecast tomorrow, and with as wet as everything is, In the summer in Texas, an 80-degree day, it's supposed to go up to 84, overcast. It's such a treat. We actually want to take advantage of it. So there's a really good off-road section right there I usually take, but it's been raining so much that'll be mud right now. So we're gonna skip that. And I'm gonna record. Yeah, see the wind muff keeps doing this thing. Or I'm gonna record with the wind. And hopefully reduce a little. Oh, wind muff's just gone. It just came off completely. Oh my god. I bought some off of Amazon and they just stuck. Okay. There's a cyclist. Oh, there's a whole bunch of people. Hello. Let's see if we can catch this guy and I'll be right back. While we're climbing. I was watching a review on YouTube of a woman's touring bike setup for race backpacking. And on her road bike, she was running a suspension stem. Oh, there's some deer. There you go. Hey. And I was thinking the same thing, that I think I'm always gonna have a suspension stem on my road bikes from here on out. They're so great. This one's registered. All right. I'll be back. Okay, we're gonna pass this guy. There's a difference in arrow position. How much time you can gain. I'm barely pedaling. How's it going? Didn't mean to surprise you there.
My ego just got shattered.
That was funny. That's a cool guy. I don't think I know him. I know about half the cyclists in town. All right, we're gonna turn into the wind. So I'm gonna turn off the mic, the camera, and we'll be right back. All right, let's go ahead and clip in here. And fire up the bike computer. So along with talking about Zen, the thing we do on this show is we give training tips that I've learned from all the Zen studies for 20 years and applied them to endurance training overall. Some really cool tricks that really help out. And one of them we're going to talk about is power meters and how to use power for like lap settings to keep yourself from going too hard. Right here, and maybe up here, it says I'm doing about 250 watts. And see, I used to train with a power meter on a tri bike, my super bike, all the time. And I got really, really good at using power for training. And when I moved over to a gravel bike, my power meter is built into the hub of my triathlon bike. So I got away from using power, especially racing mountain bikes. You don't use power as much either. It's not as useful. So I kind of got away from doing it. And then getting the power meter pedals, the Asiomas off-road version, and getting power back on this bike, I'm remembering, if that's a word, about one of the coolest functions of training with power is using it to hold yourself back when climbing hills, and then using the averages over stretches of time to really focus in on those numbers as the actual valuable ones. Okay, I'll be right back. It's gonna get windy here. All right. Something funny just happened, but frustrating. Learning how to use the camera. I recorded about 10 minutes worth of audio about how to use a power meter to climb and hold your power back. That way you ride better, not go too hard. And then I relearned the feature that if you hold the record button down instead of the power button to stop the camera, if you hold it down, it goes, oh, you want to delete the whole recording you just made? Okay, thank you, bye. Like that. So, thought I'd record this nice little fun downhill right here. Smoother over here. Got a horse trailer up ahead. So back to time and using time to your advantage. A lot of times I'll have a problem with a recording, audio or video, and I'll re-record it and it's better the second or third time. That whole concept of, let's say you write a school paper and then you lose it, gets deleted, whatever. The second time you write, it's actually better than the first. So it's because you've rehearsed it, you know. So by now I've rehearsed what I'm gonna say, and I can be more succinct. So it's all right. Potholes on the left, go back to where it's smooth. I do need to refuel right here. I got a nice little turnaround I'm going to use. I'll pause it here and talk for a second while I do it. Most of the gravel roads I ride around here dry out pretty quick, which is nice. There's a few I gotta watch out for. There's a water treatment plant of some sort. Or it could just be a pump station. They pump water. But anyway, auto pause, activate. There you go. So I'm at an hour and 19, hour 20. So my fuel, I need to actually be down about here. This is a 2-hour water bottle. That should do it. And then, all right. I keep having trouble with the camera accidentally turning it off or pausing it and then thinking I've recorded stuff and I haven't. So I'm not actually sure if what I just said is on there. I'm about an hour and a half in. I should be about down to here on a 2-hour water bottle or fuel bottle. Gonna hit that and wash it down with a little bit of water, rinse off the teeth. I think I pretty much finished this one off. I'm at the south end of Old Highway 6. Pavement gonna turn to gravel, have a little bit of a tailwind, a little bit of crosswind. See if we can cover this topic about power meters and time, and slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So let's turn the bike computer back on. And I think I dropped something back there. Let's go look. No, don't know what it was. Pro tip, try to use bright colored stuff when you're doing outdoor activities. All your equipment and gear. And if it's black, you can buy bright colored duct tape, like day glow fluorescent duct tape, and tear off little pieces and put it on your piece of equipment. Like if you have a black bike computer, makes it easy to find. So I first started hearing slow is fast in Boy Scouts. I was in a high adventure Boy Scout troop. We did really crazy stuff. All these dads were Vietnam vets. So they were mostly all together and badass, and learned a lot. And then at military school, which was run by Marines, sometimes it gets attributed to the Marines. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Nowadays it's like all special forces, so I don't know who was first, doesn't matter. And then another one is Mario Andretti. I don't know if he said slow is smooth, but he definitely said smooth is fast. But it has to do with going into turns and things like that. If you're smooth, because you're slow, if you slow down and do things smoothly, you don't have to waste as much energy regaining speed to get back to where you were. And that's where this whole thing from like lower tire pressures, full suspension on your mountain bike, all this stuff ends up making you faster. And actually, if it feels fast, it most likely isn't, because your body feels the banging around, like right here. Right, like it misinterprets that as speed. It's not. That was actually slower than if I went over something smooth. So when I got back on my tri-bike and was using the power meter on that, I remembered how that bike is so fast, you actually don't have to put down a lot of power to climb really fast. And I remembered, regardless of what kind of bike you're on, or what kind of running you're doing or whatever, you don't want to go too hard because that trains your body wrong, and then you end up being too worn out. There's a type of training called sweet spot training, where you spend time, significant portions of time, just below, around your the power you'd hold for an hour, your FTP, functional threshold power. And going over that more than just a few times is actually really counterproductive. And you're thinking long term, you're thinking ride after ride after ride after ride. Let's say you want to increase your FTP
from 250 to 270, you would make sure that you're not climbing at like 350 and stuff, because then it makes it too hard to do these sustained periods at 250 to 270. Because when you do sustained, you know, like 250, all of a sudden next ride 260 is actually a little bit easier, and then a few rides later 270 is actually a little bit easier, because you're training the right system. A little camelback. And so when I got into gravel riding, my power meter is actually a power tap hub on my race bike, my triathlon bike. And I thought, you know, a little bit of training was in, and then I'll just ride without one. I know what I'm doing. But there's some tricks at play that mess with you. One, gravel being a slower surface, right? Because it's rougher. You're used to going a certain speed on the road or in your car or whatever. So what happens is, psychologically, you're like, oh, I'm not going, you don't know this. Subconsciously, you push the pace a little bit harder than you should to try to do the same pace as you were doing on the road. That's almost imperceptible. That's almost an afterthought I had. Let's get on the other side of the road. Oh, that's good. I wasn't even recording. That's smart. But you can see right here, 218 watts. The numbers on the screen get all weird and wonky because the camera's trying to catch up with the Garmin and all that stuff. But, you know, I'm an hour and a half in, and I've been riding, and I'll get to in a minute how, real nice and smooth, and actually holding back. And my power numbers are actually higher because I'm able to sustain that for longer. And this, what's coming up right here, is the other reason why. Is gravel tends to be steeper because the roads are unimproved. You know, whenever they pave a road, they grade it to be a little bit smoother, take the top of the hills off a little bit. So instead of a 8% grade, it'll be like a 4% grade, or, you know, maybe not, that's kind of an extreme example. So as you're climbing these hills, you're going slower and they're steeper, so you end up going harder than you should. And it took, I'm trying to remember how many years of experience, 10 years power meter riding experience. You know, looking back on that, when I got these power meter pedals on this bike, so that's a power, finally, just recently, after I haven't been riding with power on this bike, it dawned on me, you know, like, holy crap, I'm going way too hard up these hills. But it doesn't feel like it because it's a frame of point of view. So like, I'm doing 280 right now, and that is plenty, right? If you're out for a 4-hour ride and your FTP let's say, is 250 or something like that. Very typical guy average FTP. Riding at what you can do max for an hour over and over again up a hill is plenty. And then what happens when you go too hard, say like 300, 350, because you're trying to keep up with your friends, or you just feel like you're going slow, you want to get up and over this thing. Well, then your next flat, which is where you're going to spend a lot of sustained time, you're going to have to coast like I am right now a lot, and then you're not getting in that workout. Of a nice sustained even effort that's going to improve you. Yeah, so, and then also you're not going to be able to pedal all the time. And some of the tricks that the pros use to stay fast is never stop pedaling. I think Keegan Swinson says that, but him and along with a million other people, it's not rocket, is do a workout where you hardly ever coast. Just always be pedaling, no matter how soft it is. And what that's doing is it's not secretly, but it's constantly adding more watts to your average and keeping you at a higher sustained speed. Okay, we got a headwind for a while. I'll be right back. All right, we're not gonna go that way because that's a mud pit. If it's been dry, we ride down that road. That's Mud Monster Road. Almost hit 2 hours with that bottle. And on the power and the climbing up hills and the road resistance, another thing that happens with road biking too, triathlon, all that stuff, is I just came from that way and the wind's out of the south and that's north. So I was going into a headwind and hold on. All right, there we go. Gotta get the pause setting just right. And I was kind of, feeling a little kind of tired, like riding that stuff. And I looked down and, my target, which would be nice. I don't think I'm probably gonna do it because I haven't tried to hit this target in a while. Because I haven't tried to hit any target in a while, specifically, was 220 watts would be nice for this ride. And we're on White Switch Road, by the way. And that's 159 behind me and the railroad track running along it. Really close down to Navasota, if you want to look that up. And so the other thing that's really great with power meters is a lot of us spend a long time riding into a wind, and it's just like riding uphill. But because you're on flat ground, and sometimes that same ground you got a tailwind or no wind, you're used to riding faster. So the headwind has got you riding 14. I've had as bad as 11 miles an hour on a tri-bike riding into a headwind down here because it's pretty wide open. Oh, and I'm still averaging 218. It was 219 a second ago. And it's starting to sprinkle a little bit. Sprinkling isn't bad on gravel because it keeps the dust down. It's not the worst. So yeah, I look down and I'm doing 244 watts. And I'm like, So when you are going into resistance, uphill or a headwind, it's been proven scientifically you do want to try a little bit harder, because time-wise you get through that faster. You spend less time working against it if you push through it just a little bit harder. So instead of 220, maybe like 230, but not 244, you know. So I backed off down to about 220, 230, and it was so much easier. And then the thing is on the return trip, it's flat. It's not downhill. So I could put out, yeah, I'm doing 220 right now, 228, without trying all that hard. Because I didn't go too hard earlier, I backed off from going too hard. I've now got this energy to do this wattage on the way back. And then my overall average wattage is higher. But you gotta remember though, you know, it's not the person with the average highest average watt. That's not the exact goal. You wanna be aerodynamic and efficient and have decent watts. And then you'll do really, really well. Especially let's say you're running off the bike, you know, you're not wearing yourself out for no reason. Because running off the bike is hard. So there's no point in doing more than what you need. So let's say I was averaging, you know, I'm targeting 220. I'd say around on the pavement, flat, not pavement. Hold on. On the flats, yeah, maybe 220, 215. When you're going uphill, 270. But not much more than that, if ever. And you say, oh, well, on the downhill, I'm averaging 0, right? Well, you're covering that downhill so much faster, right? You spend less time doing 0. You spend a lot of time doing 270 because you're going uphill and it takes longer. Downhill it goes by really fast. Then it ends up averaging out to about 220. And that's where you gotta think smooth and just pedal. Another thing is, if you just pedal easy and practice hardly ever stopping, but just pedaling easy and always put down just a little bit of power, those numbers add up too. It's nice. So now let's talk about smoothest fast a little bit more and using time to your advantage. So when I was at Marine Corps Military School, Marine Military Academy, and they were, for example, teaching us drills or teaching us how to disassemble and reassemble a rifle. Just like the way you play a guitar, or also the way I learned to type in a typing class, which is great, is you start off slow and do it right, very slowly. And then once you get the form down, then you practice a little bit faster, practice a little bit faster. So like the worst case scenario is like out of a horror movie, you know, where you're trying to find the keys and then try to get the keys in the car door or in the house door. You're fumbling for the keys, and because you're trying to do it too fast, you keep missing. And it's also not just like, oh, well, let me tell you about our typing teacher. This was a really cool typing technique. She started off at the beginning here, I was playing the music that had a slow beat, and we were only allowed to hit one key at a time with the beat. So like, tight, 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 or tap or whatever. And then, seriously, like that slow. And then, I see what I'm doing here. Oh, I got a car back. I'm gonna stay on the left. There's nobody coming. That's cool. I just looked back, they're all right. But what I'm doing is I'm just pedaling nice and easy. Even though I could pedal and coast, I'm just not stopping. Don't ride on the left unless you know the road really well and about how much traffic there's going to be on it. Anyway, little rough spot there. Got a big climb up ahead. We'll watch some of the power numbers while we climb it. There we go. And I'll demonstrate. But you just, oh, you know, every class or every few classes, you know, she'd speed it up like 1 beat per minute. And it worked, you know. And after a couple months, they go back and show you how you were struggling and how slow you were starting at the beginning, and it's ridiculous. Yeah, what am I doing here? Yeah, we'll climb this around 260 watts. 264. Now, cleaning a rifle is kind of a middle ground. We had competitions and stuff. Who could clean a rifle blindfolded, faster, you know, stuff like that. And you definitely need to do that, or need to be able to do that. But they also taught us, if you want to do something well, do it slowly and enjoy the process. Well, actually, they never said enjoy anything. I think even in Zen, they don't say enjoy the process. It's more like just experience it. A joy is an opinion. You're not allowed to have those. Yeah, 300 watts is impressive. Not too hard. But now, because I didn't go too hard, this remaining bit, I'm able to recover a little bit faster and continue on with the rest of my ride. And then I've noticed, like here's the example usually where you go too hard. Right here. I look down, I'm doing 270 watts, dude, that is plenty. But without the numbers in front of me, I wouldn't be really noticing that. And then, on top of that, the lap function. Instead of looking at your overall watts on a training ride, it's nice to throw out, it's sprinkling, this is so nice. It's nice to throw out the first 10 to 20 minutes because that's, you know, like warm-up time. So what you do is while you're riding along, you can tell you're warmed up. It's been somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes. And you're pedaling along pretty easy. And your watts on level ground and your heart rate is nice. Kind of like what you want it to be for the rest of the ride. Then you hit the lap button and then you start from there, watching those watts. Alright, be right back. Okay, so that headwind we were just going into, I was doing about 250 watts climbing into it. I think those things are like the secret silent killers, death by 1,000 cuts, you know? It's just like doing over-unders all day long for 4 hours. So, well, let's get going on this uphill right here, and I'll be able to talk a little better. It's pretty windy. We're back on old Highway 6 again. And keeping your power down a little bit and not going over and under also settles your stomach a little bit more, so you're able to digest food a little bit better.